Minneapolis voters will decide this November whether to end their city's police department, replacing it with a new Department of Public Safety. The City Council last week signed off on language for a ballot question to change the city charter to create a new agency. "We have an exciting opportunity in the city of Minneapolis to do something that has not been done before," says Janare Bates, spokeswoman for Yes for Minneapolis. The coalition of activist groups gathered thousands of signatures to get the change to the city charter on the ballot, after a police officer's murder of George Floyd and subsequent protests last year. Bates says the proposed new department will be a fully holistic department that includes police officers as well as licensed professionals and experts, in order to ensure that folks stay safe. The intention is to shift the city's response to crime away from law enforcement and toward social services or other approaches. It would expand on a push that's already underway in the city to transfer jobs traditionally done by the police to other, civilian departments. Sasha Cotton, Director of Violence Prevention for the city's health department, says after the trauma of Floyd's murder and the effects of the pandemic, things feel chaotic. She says police, and government, have lost a measure of legitimacy, and she thinks residents are eager for new approaches to public safety. A community that's really taking a stand and saying, "No more, we're not going to do it this way anymore," Cotton says. And although they're prepared to say, "We don't want this," the answers to what we want as a community aren't clear. And we're going to have to try things. For instance, the city now encourages residents to report property crimes by calling 311, instead of 911, to avoid involving the police. There's a similar plan to send out civilians, instead of police, to help people in mental health crises. The city has even moved its crime prevention program out of the police department. It's a trend that worries Pastor Brian Heron, of Zion Baptist Church in North Minneapolis. "This us against them mentality has to go," Heron says. He's dismayed by the new push to remove cops from everyday contacts in the neighborhood. "I think it's a mistake," Heron says. "Because I think having civilians in the precinct, working with the cops, gives the cops a whole different idea of what's going on in the community." In past years, he says, Minneapolis police were most effective when they connected with the people they served. "We invited the patrol officers to block club meetings. And the patrol officers were surprised by the response they got," he says. "We have to transform policing from an occupational force within the community to a community response that works with the community. This is sometimes referred to as community policing, a reform idea promoted during the 1990s and 2000s.